The last session on the Isha Upanishad, and I'm planning to give a short summary of the whole teachings of these Upanishads, and more importantly, I'm giving a short description of some of the fundamental tenets of Advaita Vedanta, non-dualistic system of philosophy. And I want to emphasize some of the common misunderstandings regarding Advaita Vedanta. Because Shankaracharya himself calls Vedanta as a Shastram. So, Samastha Vedanta Siddhanta Shastram it is called. Shastram is a science. Now, when you want to study science, you have to understand some of the fundamental vocabulary, technical terms which have got fixed and definite, well-defined meanings. That word may have different meaning in dictionary, but it has a fixed and well-defined, well-established meaning in that parampara, in that tradition. And Advaita Parampara continues all the way from Shankaracharya's times to our own times, culminating in Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement in 19th century. And also in our own, the 20th century also, a large number of great teachers have taken up this Vedanta tradition. From Shankara, his four disciples, Sureshwara, Padmapada, Totaka and others, and again afterwards, Madhusudana is in the 16th century, before him Sri Harsha, who wrote Khandakadya, and Chitsuki by Chitsugacharya, and a number of polemical technical works originated in that Vedanta tradition. And also there was some dialectical conflicts between different schools of philosophy. Those of you who may not be familiar with the history of this polemical dialectical warfare between these gigantic intellects should know this is the most glorious period of world philosophical thought. They did not fight with weapons. They took a book in their hands and they argued the meaning of certain important philosophical terms. Is it clear to you? This sound is okay? That is the glory of it. The glory goes all the way back to the times of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, somewhere in the 3rd millennium BC, where ladies, kings, emperors, saints and sages used to debate some of the most profound philosophical questions in imperial courts. So today I want in a few words to give a short summary of the Isha Upanishad. The most central teachings of Isha Upanishad is that it is possible for us to combine the secular and spiritual in our life. It is possible to combine action and contemplation. It is possible to perform our ordinary duties and work that we normally call secular work, even worldly work, in a spiritual way. So it's a matter of changing the perspective. Then every word, every action, every minute can be spiritualized by taking a new perspective. This idea, which is found in the Isha Upanishad, was elaborated in the Bhagavad Gita in 700 verses. In the Bhagavad Gita, which Lord Krishna called Samasta Vedanta Sara Sangraha Bhudam Gita Shastram. Durvikneyartham Gita Shastram. So it's a science. So in the Gita, this idea was further elaborated using the vocabulary, the technical words like yajna, which actually means not ritual, but performing every work as an act of offering to God, as an act of self-sacrifice. Yajna vai sreshtatamam karma. The definition goes all the way back to Katyayana Sutra Vyakhya. It's an ancient hermeneutical work in the Vedic hermeneutics. Now, also dharma, whatever work you do, any work, any secular work, if it is done as a swadharma, then that work becomes something exalted. It not only satisfies our needs in this world, but it also serves a great spiritual purpose. When any work that we have to do is done as swadharma or yajna, then it becomes a very pleasant, very peaceful, very effective and very efficient and very productive work. So these ideas were later elaborated in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, one common misunderstanding about Upanishad or Advaita Vedanta is in the context of karma, and that is a very, very important subject which I want to discuss. You find in the Isha Upanishad and also in the Gita and other Bhashyas you find certain terms which can create conflicts to those who are not formally introduced to Advaita terminology. I can give some examples. Jnana karmano virodham parvatvat akampyam yadhottam nasmaradi kim. It is from Isha Upanishad Bhashya. Those who do not have this book, you won't miss anything. And you can later, with the help of a Bhashya and translation, you will understand the full implication of what I am saying now. But it's very crucial to understand. If you don't know the password, you cannot open your computer Gmail. So if you do not understand these fundamental important technical terms used in Vedanta, you won't be able to understand Vedanta. And the number of people who did not understand Vedanta, who even misunderstood Vedanta, and who believe that Advaita means totally a kind of utopian, unrealistic, totally a kind of delusional system of philosophy. There are people like that. You know why they talk like that? They read the Shankaracharya's commentary. Jnana karmano virodham parvatavat akampyam. Jnana karmanoha virodham. Virodham means conflict, contradiction. Between jnanam, advaita anubhuti, the highest spiritual enlightenment, and action. This conflict, this contradiction, this contrast is as unshakable as mountain, as a mountain. This is a literal meaning of it. Yadhottam nasmaradikim, don't you remember that? What's the meaning of this? Jnana karmano virodham parvatavat akampyam. We said just now that karma and jnana, action and contemplation, the secular and spiritual, should be and can be combined in our everyday life. That is the fundamental teachings of Isha Upanishad and the Gita. Tasma asatta sadam garyam dharma samachara. Karmane vahi samsiddhi mastu dojanikateha. Lokasangrahamevapi sampasyan kartum arhasi. There are any number of verses in the Gita which again and again call upon you to do your work. So dharme nidhanam sreya paradharmo bhayavaha, and so on. Neki kasikshanam api jadidishtatya karma krute. You cannot keep quiet for a minute. Action is inescapable. Action is unavoidable. Gita says, so not for a split second could you keep quiet for a minute. This is what Gita says. And Shankaracharya apparently, not really, says there is a great conflict between jnanam and karma. And I said just now that jnanam and karma can be combined. But that is the real meaning of the second part of the first mantra. Isha vasimidam sarvam yat kinja jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena munjithaga ma krudha kasya siddhanam tyaktanamityagena. The entire universe is pervaded by the Spirit of the Lord, God. Therefore, you live in this world, you enjoy it through renunciation. Now, how do you resolve this conflict? To resolve this conflict, you should listen very carefully now. When Sri Krishna used the word karma in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere, in many other chapters also, Lord Krishna says karma. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tiktva karoti yatha lipyade nasa papayana patma patramivampasa. You surrender everything to Brahman and do your work. Pasyan, Sunan, Sprisan, Jikran, like that. When you see, when you open your eyes, when you breathe, when you eat, when you walk, that is the meaning of Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, Brahma Yajna. Eating food, cooking food, digesting food, all a kind of Karma Yoga Yajna. Now, this meaning of Karma Yoga was not in Shankaracharya's mind when he used the word karma in the Bhashya. There is a reason for it. Sri Krishna preached Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd, maybe 4th millennium BC, roughly speaking 3326 is one of the conservative dates fixed for Bhagavad Gita by great Indian historians and like this Balagangadhar Tilak, who was one of the greatest scholars and also a great historians. The Arctic Home of the Aryans, well-known book, and the Gita Ragasya, also one of the famous books. 2 volumes he wrote. And he says Bhagavad Gita was preached in 3326 BC. Maybe a few hundred years this way and that way, it's acceptable. So Sri Krishna used that word in a very broad sense. Whatever you do, eating food, walking, doing your work in the office, meditating, fighting, as the case is Arjuna. Arjuna's duty was to fight for preservation of dharma, for helping poor people, helping women, for helping the weak, for saving the country and people from evildoers. Arjuna was his profession was as a soldier. So Lord Krishna said, do your duty, don't run away from it. Do it as a puja, as a worship, as an act of serving the Lord. It can be done. So, that meaning doesn't occur to Shankaracharya's mind. There is a reason. Shankaracharya lived in the 8th century AD, 778 to 810. That is one of the several dates fixed for him by most acceptable historiographers, historians. Now, between these, there is a long period. Now, Buddha was born in the 6th century BC, 560 to 480. 80 years is Buddha's time. When Buddha came, the meaning of karma had completely changed. The sublime, exalted meaning of karma, used by Bhagavad Gita, used by Lord Krishna, and used in many contexts in the Mahabharata. That means whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you speak is an offering to the Lord. It becomes karma yoga, it becomes a path to the highest spiritual jnana. That meaning was completely lost when Buddha was born in the 6th century BC. You find traces of the degeneration of the karma ideal in the Bhagavad Gita itself, where Lord Krishna actually, Yakshe Dasyami Modishye Itya Jnana Vimohidaha. He actually is referring to the Purvamimamsakas, who proudly proclaimed that the whole meaning of Vedanta, Veda, is to perform rituals just for material prosperity. So that degeneration had already happened when Buddha was born in 580. 560 BC. So Buddha revolted against the ritualism, all the Purvamimamsakas. Buddha was not revolting against the Karma Yoga ideal of the Lord Krishna. If you want a proof, you can read Dhammapada. Dhammapada, the 26th Varga, is called Brahmana Varga. So in Pali, Brahmana becomes Brahmana. Varga becomes Bhagga or Vaggo. So there are, in continuing verses in the Dhammapada, Buddha uses the word Tam Bhuhi Brahmanam. Tam Bruhi Brahmanam. This is Sanskrit verse. But it means he is the highest man of wisdom. And all the characteristics that Buddha described in the Dhammapada, 26th Varga, are the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna used in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter from 55th verse to 72nd verse, 18 verses. Prachagadi yada kaman sarvan parthamanogadan atmannevatmana tushtasthita prajnastadocidi dukkheshu aniddiktavana sukheshu vigadaspraga vidaraga bhayakroda siddhi muniyuchidi. Like that, from 55th to 72nd, 18 verses describe the characteristics of a spiritually enlightened person. So, Buddha was not against Karma Yoga. In fact, in the characteristics of a wise man, whom Buddha called the enlightened person like himself, you find all the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna Lakshanani in the Gita are already thrust upon the Dhammapada, which is part of Sutta Pitaka, one of the three Pitakas, Pali canonical literature, not in Sanskrit origin. So Buddha revolted against the wrong meaning, wrong interpretation of karma as rituals, yajnas and yagas. What are these karmas? These karmas, we have to remember, karmas according to Purva Mimamsakas have got a different meaning. Means Nitya karmas, Naimitya karmas, Kame karmas, Nishiddha karmas. Nishiddha karma means avoiding Nishiddha karmas, and Prayaschitta karmas. Plus Sapta Soma Yajnas and Sapta Havir Yajnas. 14 Yajnas explained in the Brahmana literature and Kalpa Sutras, plus all the Nitya, Naimitya, Prayaschitta karmas to be performed by an ordinary householder. All these were meant by the word karma by Purva Mimamsakas. Purva Mimamsa, those who already know, I need not explain, but I want to tell you. Purva Mimamsa is one of the 6 theistic systems of Hindu philosophy. Astika Darsanas. Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa means Vedanta, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya and Yoga. Purva Mimamsa's Acharya was Jaimini, the great sage, Rishi. Uttara Mimamsa's Acharya was Badarayana Vyasa. And Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Gautama was the teacher of Nyaya philosophy. Vaisheshika was Kanada. And Sankhya philosophy goes to Kapila, and Yoga philosophy is attributed to Patanjali Rishi. So these are the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. The 6 systems of atheistic systems or agnostic systems are different. About the 4 systems of Buddha philosophy, Jaina and Charvaka, which I am not going to discuss right now. So what we must remember is Buddha was revolting against the ritualism of Vaidika Dharma. Now after Buddha passed away, in 1200 years, Buddhism had completely degenerated in India, not outside India. In India, Buddhism took very strange forms, highly nihilistic, metaphysical, polemical, systems of 4 systems of philosophy, Sautrantikas, Vaibhashikas, Vijnanavadas, and our own Shunyavada, which is becoming popular in America. Mindfulness, all related to that. Those of you are interested can listen to a retreat that I gave in San Francisco, the winter retreat, January 4th and 5th, that was based on the Satyupattana Sutta, which is a long discourse that Buddha gave in Pragut, which was coded into Pali canonical literature. Those who are interested, you can listen to that. So now Shankara came in 8th century AD. What was the condition when Shankaracharya wrote these lines? Well, before Shankara, two great Mimamsakas had appeared in India. One was Kumarila Bhatta, the other one was Prabhakara. Kumarila was the elder one, and the student and a more brilliant person was Prabhakara. So slightly different systems of Mimamsa philosophy. The only difference is Prabhakara accepts only 5 pramanas and Kumarila accepts 6 pramanas. That's the only difference. It's a matter of epistemology. If you want to know more about it, you can ask me later during interaction. So these Mimamsakas had already reclaimed the glory of Vedas. But while doing that, you know what they did? They tried to establish, especially Kumarila Bhatta, Tantravartikam and Slokavartikam, huge books. Many of our great analogies that you find Shankara Bhashya, Rajasarpa Bhranti, already you find in Kumarila's Slokavartika. So what he did, he tried to defeat the Buddhist thinkers who tried to establish that everything is nothing. Buddhism, as Kumarila had to confront, was different from the Buddhism, totally different from the Buddhism that Buddha actually preached about 1000 years earlier. So that's why a point should be remembered. You have to remember, neither Shankara nor Kumarila Bhatta had any conflict with the real Buddha. Their conflict was with the misinterpretations that took place between 4th century and 6th century in India on Buddhism. So they tried to disprove the philosophy of about the later Buddhism, which is very deviated forms of Buddhism, and they established the ritualism of Vedas, and they completely discarded Vedanta. To give an example, I gave this example earlier. Adham Brahmasmi, Tattwamasi, Ayamatma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma, Mahavakyas, Upamahavakyas. These great Vedantic statements, which form the foundation of the highest Indian philosophical ideas, had no meaning so far as Kumarila Bhatta was concerned. He said, well, if you perform yajnas and yagas, you get the blessings from Indra, Varuna, Agni. That's the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi, Tattwamasi, etc. So Shankara had a big problem in front of him. He didn't have to worry about the real teachings of Buddha, but he had to worry about the distortions of later Buddhists. And he also had to confront the Mimamsakas who tried to establish that the whole meaning of Vedas, the whole essence of Vedas, the whole emphasis of Vedantic teaching, Vedic teachings is nothing but performing certain rituals, praying to gods and goddesses, multiple gods and goddesses, for wealth, for long life, for destruction of your enemies, and also for wife, children, and nothing more. There was absolutely no spiritual element in Vedic literature, so far as Kumarila Bhatta was concerned. Now what will Shankara do? Shankara had to argue with Buddhists, and he did that very well. But when he argued with Kumarila Bhatta's followers, Kumarila Bhatta did not get an opportunity, a golden opportunity to be defeated by Shankaracharya in argument. Because if Shankara Digvijaya stage, Shankaracharya, 16 years old boy, was going to Prayag, today's Allahabad. And there, Kumarila Bhatta was practically breathing his last. So he told him, I don't have the privilege to be defeated by you. Rather, you can go to one of my disciples. And Shankara defeated the disciple. And when he defeated, what did he say? Well, we don't say the rituals are wrong. You can perform rituals. absolutely wonderful. You need not worry about getting Brahmajnanam. You can't say that every human being in this world should strive for Brahmajnanam. It's just saying that everyone in the world should get a PhD from MIT, otherwise he's not worth living. Totally foolish. But you cannot say that nobody should go to MIT. You cannot say that. Every person should enter a kindergarten and start his education in a kindergarten and end his education in a kindergarten. That would be totally wrong. So Shankaracharya argued with Mimamsaka, saying that there are people in the world who are not interested in rituals, who are not interested in going to heaven, who are not interested in making more money, who are not interested in living a bohemian, a utilitarian life in this world. To be bohemian is not the highest goal of human existence. To be eating chocolates and candies every day, 24 hours of the day, is not the highest, most blissful experience. Why should you insist everyone should eat candies 3 times a day? That was what the Mimamsaka were telling. Everyone Swargagamo Yajeda. I mean, if you want to go to Swarga, you should perform yajnas and yagas. And everyone should perform yajnas and yagas, so long as he is alive. If you are old, dead, blind or deaf or sick, then you can take to sannyasa. That was Purva Mimamsaka's philosophy. We would not have got a monk like Vivekananda or Shankaracharya if you had followed Kumarilabhatta's philosophy. Because according to Purva Mimamsakas, there are long arguments in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya where the Purva Paksha Nirasa means in Brahma Sutra Bhashya also. Purva Mimamsaka said the whole purpose of human life is to continue praying and performing rituals, not with any transcendental spiritual vision, but just for empirical worldly enjoyments. That's the whole purpose of human life. You live a happy life, a 5-star hotel in this world, and you book the permanent 5-star hotel in the heaven. So Sarvagamo Yacheta. They said every person should do that, nothing more, nothing less. Shankaracharya said no. Jnana karmano virodham parvatavat akambhyam. Jnana means the highest Advaitic experience. That is on the one hand, and karma, performing rituals, eating candies, enjoying bohemian pleasures in this world, and considering that as the highest goal of human existence. That and the highest spiritual pursuit are totally mutually contradictory, and that contradiction, that conflict is as unshakable as a mountain itself. So that is the real meaning of the statement in Shankaracharya's Bhashya, which I quoted just now. Jnana karmano virodham parvatvat akambhyam idhoktam nasmaradikyam. So this is one important point to remember. So far as Mimamsakas were concerned, Swargakamo Yajeda, those who want to go to Swarga should perform these rituals, and you should perform Nitya Karmas, Naimitya Karma. So Nitya Karmas doesn't mean to be done every minute or every day, means compulsory. Like Sandhyavantanam. Naimitya means Jata Karma, all these samskaras. And Kame Karmas, Putra Kameshti, etc. Nishiddha Karma means wrong things, like alcoholism is Surapanam is considered to be wrong. Nishiddha Karmas. And Prayaschitta Karmas, Naimitya Karmas, for penance done for something wrong, some wrong action. So what it means is, Shankaracharya said, this is okay, perfectly okay. You should begin your education in kindergarten, primary school, no doubt about it. But you should not say that no one should go beyond the primary school. That is Shankaracharya's statement. If you feel renunciation like Buddha felt renunciation, if you feel a great impulse for higher spiritual pursuit, as Vivekananda had, perfectly okay. You can become a Vivekananda, you can become a Buddha, nothing wrong. But Mimamsakas would not admit it. They would say everyone should eat candies only, nothing more. So this is the meaning of karma in Shankaracharya's commentary. So according to Shankara, karma means the same karma which Mimamsakas meant by that, empty rituals. That karma is always linked to selfish desire for worldly pursuits, nothing more. So this is one important point to be kept in mind. So I just want to explain some of these very, very important principles here. Now next, and it's a very important teachings in India Advaita Siddhanta, something very unique, which is so attractive and so impressive so far as those who specialize in comparative religious philosophical systems are concerned. Shankaracharya said, Anubhava avasanam cha brahma vijnanam avidyayaha nivartakam moksha sadhanam cha ishtavaladaya ishyati. What it means is, Anubhava avasanam, the highest goal of spiritual life is experience. Avasanam is the end. So Anubhava is the avasanam, the end. Cha brahma vijnanam avidyayaha nivartakam. And this experience completely removes all the cobwebs, the dark corners from our mind. And moksha sadhanam, it is also the means, the method for liberation. Now this is something very unique in Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta does not contradict or reject bhakti. Purushakara means devotion or effort, grace of God. All these have great importance in Advaita. But what Advaita tells you is, all efforts on our part help us to remove obstacles that stand in the way of our rediscovering our own true nature. So that is something very unique. Advaita does not reject any system of philosophy. When you become a Nobel Prize winning scientist, you don't say a student studying primary school all wrong. You don't say a child studying kindergarten, it's all wrong. What you would say, you have to study further. So Advaita insists on this principle, anubhuti or experience. That is, rituals, belief systems, philosophical ideas, theological ideas, speculations. But eventually, we must reach some kind of experience. Before some kind of experience, it is impossible for us to believe sincerely. If you tell me, if anybody tells us, I believe in God, the sentence is correct. But when you say, I believe in the reality of God, that belief belongs to the same degree of belief. It is now, let us 345 now. 345 is so actual, so real. We don't have to believe in it. It is 345. We don't believe in something which is so obvious. We use the word believe only in certain things which is not obvious to us. It is not unreal. If you say, I believe, not that it is unreal, but it is not 100% real, because you don't believe in what is 100% real. You don't say, I have 5 fingers on my right hand. You don't say that. It is so obvious. So what is obviously true, you don't believe, you experience. So experience is the highest criterion for spirituality, spiritual realization. That is one unique aspect of Advaita Vedanta. In all non-Advaitic systems, God's grace is very important. Shankaracharya himself wrote elaborately in the Gita Bhashya. There is one verse in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Maicha ananya yogena bhaktihi abhibicharini vivikta desha sevittum anabhijana samsati. So here is a description of abhibicharini bhakti, achala, nirmala, shuddha. Bhashyakara, he goes on explaining the characteristics of purest bhakti, the highest sublime bhakti. Then he says, Sacha-jnanam. That bhakti also in its highest form is Advaita Anubhuti itself. So, this is something very important. Religion begins in belief, but eventually it ends in experience. So, this is an important point, remember. Advaita believes that the Anubhuti is the last. Something may be said in a book, it is important. A book, a shastram is not irrelevant or unimportant. But beyond belief, beyond philosophy is experience. So this is a very important, a unique characteristic of Advaita Vedanta. So I just wanted to, it will take some time for me to explain all this. Okay, now Shankaracharya makes another important point in Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam. It's also, what is the place of books in spiritual life? Shastram tu antyam pramanam adat dharma adhyarobana matra nivartakatvena pramanyam atmana privatyade natu ajñādhārtha jñāpakatvena. What it means is, books don't tell you, books don't give you any new information. So what is the role of Upanishads, all the great books? That is something very unique in Advaita Vedanta. The reality or the anubhuti or experience is beyond books. Then what's the role of our own effort? Reading books, Vichamaga, Namaga, all this, all we do is very, very important. What is the real role of spiritual sadhanas? There Shankaracharya says, spiritual practices and also spiritual literature, study of spiritual literature, help us by removing wrong notions in our mind. And when the wrong notions are removed, the right understanding becomes self-revealed. It means spirituality or our true nature, the fact that we are Atman, we are not this body, we are something far beyond mind, beyond intellect. This reality is not a new knowledge. This reality is a new, it is rediscovery. We are rediscovering what for some time we forgot. That's why Shankaracharya says, is only rediscovering. Na paramarthikam vastu kartum nivattayadam va arhati brahma vidya. What it means is, when we realize the truth, then we understand we have gone far beyond whatever the books talk about. When Sri Ramakrishna in a very simple language makes this point clear. Sri Ramakrishna says, suppose you are going to market to do shopping and you have a list of items to be purchased, a small piece of paper. And now, after returning from the shop, you don't keep that paper, the scrap of paper in your hand. You don't preserve it. You think, oh, this is something very precious. You already done your shopping. You are already put in your refrigerator. That paper you throw into the gutter. It doesn't mean that we throw away the books into the gutter. What it means, the importance of the book is only to the point of removing obstacles from our mind. Before we read scriptures, before we do sadhanas, before we do spiritual practices, we had wrong notions because of immature or wrong samskara, impure samskara, impure vrittis, vasanas. Our mind is full of maybe negative samskaras, wrong samskaras. So we have got wrong understanding of the reality. So once these wrong samskaras are completely removed from the mind, by generating new, fresh, proper, positive samskaras, then what happens? The reality is self-revealed. This is an important, unique characteristic of Advaita philosophy. And then another important point is spiritual literature frequently gives us an idea of how an enlightened man lives in this world, enlightened spiritual, liberated soul lives in the world. When we read Bhagavata Purana, you read about Prahlada, the great devotee, and you read Jadabharata, you read Mahabharata, you read Kunti, you read Uddhava and Bhagavata Purana again. You find Narada, all Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, all these great rishis, sages, devotees. You read a lot about the devotion, bhakti, etc. Shankaracharya writes in the Gita Bhashya when he describes the importance of Sthitaprajna Lakshanas, the characteristics of a spiritually enlightened person. He says, Sarvatra hi adhyatma shastre yani eva kudartha lakshanani tani eva sadhanani upadishyante yatna sadhyatva. What it means is, wherever, in whatever spiritual literature, you find a number of spiritual characteristics of enlightened soul are listed. The real purpose, in fact, the real purpose of all these Adhyatma Shastras, all spiritual literature, is to give you an idea of the great attributes of an enlightened person, of a bhakta, or a jnani. What is the benefit for us? The benefit is yatna sadhyatva. Yatna sadhyatva means if we make our own effort, yatna, then it is possible for us to be like them. So not that we should imitate. The idea is every spiritual literature will give us the right ideas, the positive ideas, and every spiritual practice, puja, bhajan, all these rituals done with devotion will generate spiritual samskaras, healthy, pure samskaras, vasana in our mind. And the constitution of mental system will be altered, will become more positive, more friendly, and more conducive to spiritual practice. Otherwise, we may take a strong decision to do spiritual sadhana, but mind may not be willing to cooperate. You know what? The reason why mind creates mental blocks is the unhealthy samskaras accumulated in the mental system are projecting obstacles on the path, and these obstacles create irritation or false excuses for postponing spiritual practices. That's why we are not always able to do what we want to do. Our mind doesn't permit us to do what we want to do. That's a main conflict. So there is a way to alter the constitution of a mental system. Because right now negative samskaras are more dominant, so the mental block, tendency to procrastinate, to postpone, or to avoid, already there. But how to avoid this? You should increase the percentage of positive samskaras. Then what happens? We are able to face this conflict. We are able to turn our mind into our own best friend. So mind will cooperate, mind will encourage us. Mind will become restless if we don't do spiritual practice. Which means there are great spiritual sadhakas we have come across. Unless they do japa, unless they do puja, unless they go to temple as they do every day, or there are people who maybe, unless you attend the Vedanta lectures, you feel peace, you won't feel peace of mind. If we have reached that mind, we are blessed. If somehow our mind is obsessed with something positive, something healthy, something spiritual, that means our mind has reached an exalted state of evolution. If mind suddenly revolts, it turns away from something spiritual, that means there is a problem with the mind. That mind is not our best friend. The mind can be turned into a best friend through spiritual sadhanas and also through reading scriptures. And shastram here means moksha shastras. Any spiritual literature, anything that's elevating. And also spiritual practices, japa, dhyana, puja, or temple rituals, prayers, even cleaning the temple, or any work, any kind of physical work that we do, with just some association with the spiritual life, will have a refining, purifying effect on the mental system. Mind will begin to cooperate. So I will have one more session as a continuation of the same subject. Then we will conclude, because it's very important as we proceed to Kena, Katha, Prasna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya and other Upanishads. It is very important to understand the mind of Shankaracharya, because the times in which he lived and wrote and expounded this great philosophical system. We have to remember, if Shankaracharya had not written a commentary on the Upanishads, or on the Gita, or Brahma Sutras, we would not have much to boast of in Indian spiritual philosophy. We would have many, but the most exalted, the philosophical ideas that attract great minds from all over the world to India. Paul Brenton went all the way to Ramana Maharshi's cave, and even now it is happening in recent times, all because they find in Advaita Vedanta something sublime, something universal, something so idealistic and also realistic. Shankaracharya wrote, he built an edifice, a huge structure, and he also installed an elevator and gave a ladder. So you find the greatest Advaita philosopher also wrote the most moving spiritual poetry. So 65 stotras that he wrote are enough to transport our mind to the ecstasy of devotion. All served with devotion. And the puja paddhatis, installation of temples. So we should remember, these are technical words to understand. And also I want to explain Maya, Mithya, Jagat, some other very important, crucial concepts in Advaita Vedanta. Once we understand them, we will have no difficulty in continuing this session. Thank you. Namaskar. Now we will have interaction. Yeah.
It seems Lord himself said that Lord Buddha himself said that Shankara's avatar is going to come, and he's going to carry on from where I left.
Of course,
if any problem is there, anything comes in between, he says his religion will deteriorate. 500 years after that, something will deteriorate. 1,000 years after that, still more. Yeah. And after 1,000 years, Shankara Bhagavan himself will take an avatar, and he will bring up that religion.
Yeah. No, I
do
not know about Buddha's prophecy, but there is a verse in the 2-3 verses, Vyukta Kesha. There are quite a few expressions in some of the Saiva literature which says, I will be born again, the Shiva himself telling the devotees. But that is not attributed to Buddha. There are slokas, Shiva Purana, there is sloka, where Shiva himself tells Parvati that in Kalo Yuga I will be born in Kali Yuga as a young Brahmin, like that. Such ideas are there. So I don't know the authenticity, of course, but I don't want to contradict you. But about Buddha, I have my doubt, because Buddha never made any statement.
It is there in the Buddhist Sutta.
In the
Sutta, one of the suttas it is there.
Buddha Sutta.
Yeah, Buddha Sutta.
Maybe, yeah. Anyway, yeah, because they do not, Buddhist philosophers, nor Buddha himself, Tripitaka, never mention any avatara concept. They don't believe in it. Okay, right.
Swamiji, initially you mentioned about dharma in Bhagavad Gita. There are several different slokas, but toward the end, it also says Sarva Dharman Parityaj,
Yeah.
which is kind of contradicting.
Yeah.
And then it says Mam Ekam Sharanam Praja.
Yeah.
So I think clarification.
Yeah, I shall explain. Yeah, I think I shall explain. Dharma here, yeah, it is the 66th verse of the 18th chapter. Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Praja Aham Tva Sarvabhebhyo Mokshayishyami Masita. It is called the Charama Sloka of Bhagavad Gita. It is nothing but a description of Prapatti or Sharanagati, the ultimate surrender. Please down. What it means is, Lord Krishna, after explaining the 4 yogas, then other subjects in the Gita, in the 66th verse of the 18th chapter, he makes this statement. Well, Arjuna, even if you cannot understand or practice any of these things that I taught you, don't bother. You just, Parityajya here doesn't mean samarpana. It is not giving up. Tyaga, giving up what you renouncing or throwing away. No, it means samarpana. All your dharma, satya, karma, in this judgment, this discerning, this discrimination, what is real, what is unreal, what I am made to do, what I am not expected to do. All these conflicts, all these differentiations, you don't bother. You leave it to me. Because if you really surrender yourself to God, Atmanikshepaka Arpanne Shadvidha Sharanagati. So Ramanuja gives a long list of 6 characteristics of Sharanagati, of Prapatti, as he calls it. Anuvillisya Sankalpaka, Praduvillisya Vardhanam, Rakshasiridi Vishwasa, Goptupta Varanam Tatha, Atmanikshepaka Arpanne is the most important. That's what is meant here. Shadvidha Sharanagati. So, you should always have a positive attitude. You should give up all negative attitudes. You should have full conviction that the Lord is your protector and He'll protect you. And then you should have a total disgust for all these worldly, sensual attachments that stand in the way of your spiritual progress, and then complete surrender. So once you do that surrender, when you practice Prapatti, what happens is you cannot really do anything wrong. Because sincere Prapatti or Sharanagati will install God's name in your mind, memory in your mind. It will be impossible for you to forget God even if you want to forget. It becomes psychologically impossible for you and physically impossible for you to do anything wrong, because the idea that you have surrendered everything. Actually, it's like father holding the child, which is a greater security than the child holding the father. So, what happens when that happens? God's presence, God Himself starts functioning through you. So, that is the ultimate path, is kind of power of attorney that Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna. Arjuna didn't have to accept it, because this is 66th verse. After a few verses, Arjuna tells, even without getting this, see, that is Nashto Moha Smidil Labdha Tut Prasada Maya Achyuda Sthidosmi Gadagat Sandeha Karishe Vajanandava Aham Sthidosmi. Now my mind has become calm and quiet and perfectly happy. All problems gone, he says. So the point is, maybe Arjuna practiced prapatti. Once you do the prapatti, then what you are not giving up dharma as ethical principle or anything. What you are doing is your own responsibility to practice dharma and to avoid adharma. That responsibility also you give to the Lord. And once you do that sincerely, then it is impossible for you to take it back. It's not like confession, which becomes a kind of weekly license renewal program, People go to temples also. They do surrender. Next day, but when they come back, they take back everything from God. Because if you really surrender, then you cannot worry about anything anymore. Psychologically, you cannot worry about anything. You feel completely elevated and relieved of all the burden of your shoulders. But that doesn't happen because it becomes a verbal exercise. When it's really a property, then that's the highest spiritual achievement for a devotee.
One other question I have.
Could you perhaps, maybe, yeah, okay.
One other question I have. We talk about sanskara, So what is sanskar is still kind of, not clear. So
Yeah. Okay. Now, samskaras are tendencies in our human mental system. Suppose we go on doing certain actions for a long time, or different kinds of actions. Each action, even after the action is completed, will leave a mark in our mental system. It leaves a residual impact, effect on the mental system. It's called vritti. So continued actions at the same time for a long time will create certain solid tendencies and impressions which are very strong, which are very difficult to get rid of. You cannot get rid of some strong samskaras or impressions, tendencies you have accumulated in your mental system because they form your mental constitution. And then if you try to counter it, they will assert themselves. So the only way for us to counter negative samskaras is to increase positive samskaras. So Patanjali called it Pratipaksha Bhavanam. So if a person feels greedy, and if he goes on reading books which explain the problems of greed, then greed may be reduced. So you are generating a counter samskara which are healthy, which will naturally reduce the force of negative samskaras. So if a person is violent, naturally violent, that if that person reads the life of Mahatma Gandhi or Buddha, he may perhaps develop tendencies which are more conducive to developing non-violence and all these things. So if a person is too much of a possessive nature, then too much of wealth is a problem. If the person reads those or associates those ideas, he is generating a counter samskara which will reduce the force of the negative samskaras. So physical activities can generate samskaras, good and bad both.
Namaste Swamiji. So today you mentioned about jnana and karma coexisting. So what is the secret for converting karma into karma yoga in the daily life?
Yeah. Now Shankaracharya himself in one context, he doesn't reject karma yoga idea, but he calls it karma nishtha is the word. The word he uses is nishtha. When he uses the word karma as such, it means rituals. And when he says your karma won't take you to the highest goal, what means your empty rituals you perform just as a ceremony. That's not enough. That may also can generate good samskara, but that's not enough. Karma nishthayaha chitta suddhidvarena purusartha hedutvam na swatantrena jnana nishtadu swatantrena purusartha hetuhu anyan apeksha is in the Gita Bhashya, and there are slightly altered versions in other Upanishad Bhashyas also. What means karma nishtha means action or duties done as a dharma or yajna, where you do, it's my duty to do. More than that, I have nothing to gain or lose from this. You won't be negligent or inefficient or you won't be indifferent. But you do your best. But if a person keeps up in spiritual reading or practices, then he will get an idea there is something beyond the work and its result. So people who work very hard and people who are very successful don't seem to be very, very happy. So there is a problem in work. Work is unavoidable. Results are unpredictable. There is always a factor of the unknown in every kind of work. That's the problem. If work can be completely predicted, it produce 100% satisfaction to you, but you can create 100% opposite dissatisfaction to somebody else. That means no work as such can be perfect with a capital letter P. No. So how, but at the same time it is unavoidable, inescapable. Nahi kashikshanamabi jadurishprati akarma. No one can keep quiet for one kshana, physically and mentally. Impossible. So what to do? So work can be done, but it's my sudharma, it's my duty. I should do to the best of my ability. But I'm not obsessed with the result of this work. You should not be indifferent, but you should not be obsessed. So how to remain non-obsessed, even if you are active 24 hours or 15 hours of the day? You should have a higher goal in your mental horizon. That's an important thing. See, when we have drawn a line, you have a story of the Tenali Raman, this a humorous, funny man. He drew a line, and somebody asked him, can you reduce that line without touching it? He drew a bigger line over it. So you should have a strong sense of work ethic, success, efficiency. But if you also have a higher idea that goes beyond that, then you won't be shattered if your work doesn't produce 100% expected result. So I said, yeah.
Yes, Swamiji, you mentioned that Shankara had to counter ritualism that was like reinforced through the Mimamsa at that time.
Yeah.
And also Buddha himself, 1,000 years back, kind of rejected the ritualism, Vedic ritualism.
Yeah.
So my question is, historically, why is it that the Vedic system deteriorated into ritualism?
Yeah.
What was it? Something inherent in the Vedas? Something obtuse? What's the history behind that?
What happened now? So the first stage of the degeneration of ritualism was countered by Buddha in the 6th century BC. But then Buddhism evolved in India. See, Buddhism in India grew along different lines from the lines along which it grew outside India. So in Japan, China, Mongolian Republic, Central Asian Republics, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, even in Siberia, Buddhism took the root of Mahayana Buddhism, Shunyavada and Vijnanavada. In Sri Lanka, Burma, all these countries became Hinayana. More Pali canonical literature was predominant there. But within India, what happened? A large number of great Sanskrit scholars entered the Buddhist fold. And they wrote some of the most advanced technical philosophical works in Sanskrit language. The literature of Buddhism is mind-boggling. 4 schools of philosophy began to grow in India, evolve in India. Between 2nd century BC, that's about for 300 years after Buddha's passing away, and 6th century BC, 800 years. Shunyavada and Vijnanavada and Mahayana Buddhism, Sautrantika and Vaibhashikas and Hinayana Buddhism. What happened? Shunyavada did a lot of mischief, and Vijnanavada also. So, when Kumarila Bhatta was living, one important Buddhist work that is prominent was Alambana Pariksha. It's an important book in Vijnanavada tradition by Dhammapada. So, he taught that there is nothing. There is absolutely nothing. so a kind of nihilism, all negative, world negating, life negating nihilism took the place of the sublime philosophy of Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path of Buddha. All these things were completely forgotten. Instead, a kind of world negating, life negating nihilism evolved in India. At that time, Kumarila, and not only that, these later Buddhists were very strong in their refutation of everything that belongs to Vedas. So Kumarila and Prabhakara, these two Mimamsa philosophers, they entered the field and they debated with Buddhist scholars and defeated them, saying that it is impossible for you to prove that there is nothing in the world. So nihilism, world negating nihilism, was defeated. And Kumarila actually was the supreme leader of that movement, followed by Prabhakara. So they won the field for Vedas, not Vedanta. And when they established the supremacy of the Vedas by defeating the Buddhists, they were not upholding Vedanta, they were upholding Vedic ritualism, Mimamsa ritualism, because they were Mimamsakas. So when Shankara came, Mimamsakas were holding the field. And they began, their main thesis was, the whole purpose of human life is to perform rituals. And it was a kind of Bohemian, Epicurean, these are all terms used in Western philosophy, Bohemianism and Epicureanism. All some kind of based on worldly enjoyment, some more evolved forms of utilitarianism, not as crude as this Mill or Bentham, but more sublime kind of Bohemian, Epicurean philosophy of enjoying the world. That is what Mimamsakas were. They were very ascetic people, remember, and that is something I want to tell you. Mimamsakas were well known for their ascetic practices. They were very staunch ritualists. So taking any number of baths, reading the Vedas, believing the Apaurushaitva of Vedas, and making tremendous personal sacrifices to uphold Vedic literature. In India, Vedas were preserved in places where Mimamsakas were dominant. Because for them, studying the Vedas, no, you should not take breakfast before studying the Vedas. And you should not study the Vedas before taking bath. And you should start studying the Vedas before the sun rises in the east. What does it mean? You have to get up 3:30 in the morning and do all this. Tremendous sacrifices, ascetic practices, very Spartan, very ethically and morally they were very well established. They were so Spartan, so rigid, and so self-sacrificing in preserving the Vedic tradition. Because the Mimamsakas practiced preserved Vedic tradition, today we are able to study the Vedas. Even the Prakritis and Vikritis, all the methods of reading the Vedas, all the friends chanting Vedas in the temples, all these Gadapada, Padapada, all these are all developed by the Mimamsakas. So even if you want to forget, you cannot forget. You begin from A to Z and Z back to A, and then A to C and C to E. Practically, those techniques of studying Vedas to Prakriti and Vikriti Pathas were all the creation of the great Mimamsakas. They were so rigid. The only point is, they did not believe in anything very transcendental. Mr. Shankaracharya did not quarrel with them. He was himself born in a family where there were staunch Mimamsakas. Of course, they studied other Shastras also. So you find, surprisingly, some of the greatest Vedic scholars of India, Vedantic scholars, grammarians, mostly many of them came from Mimamsa families, because they had this tradition of studying everything memorizing everything and living for it. What for? These Vedas are sacred, so we should do that. In fact, a handful of people who consider studying the Vedas itself as something sacred and something transcendental, they are the persons to whom we thank for the preservation of Vedas in India. But Shankara said, you are okay so far as the sanctity of the rituals are concerned, but there is something that goes beyond ritual. So Shankaracharya said, he completely accepted it, its importance, but there is something beyond that. You should go to a college, a primary school, but you should not consider it the end of education. You should go for something higher, transcendental. That was Shankara's gift to Indian philosophy. We conclude now. If you can, one more question.
One more question we can take. Don't hesitate. Q&A of the best part. Okay, Maharaj.
So we will conclude this same session because there are a few more very interesting concepts in Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, which we can make clear in the next session. Then we'll go to Kenosis. Is it okay with you? You have any different opinion? Because in Vedanta, Purva-Pakshas are always to be honored. Eh? You have any different? Okay? Right. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Pranamastu.
So, a few